Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, before we start commence the program, and here are the following webinar protocol.
Kalau misalkan ada yang mau ditanyakan terkait dengan observasi
For each participant ID, please use your real name following with your origin of institution.
nanti
All of participants are expected to mute the audio and only unmute the video during the event. We cordially invite you to take your own firm and comfort seat in your own room and please avoid the backlight. Make sure that you have a good and stable internet connection. If you have an earphone or headset, we recommend you to use it so that your voice can clearly and loudly to be heard. During the Q&A discussion session, all participants, please use the chat box to deliver the questions. Thank you for your cooperation and consideration. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, before we start commence the program, and here are the following webinar protocol. For each participant ID, please use your real name following with your origin of institution. All of participants are expected to mute the audio and only unmute the video during the event. We cordially invite you to take your own firm and comfort seat in your own room and please avoid the backlight. Make sure that you have a good and stable internet connection. If you have an earphone or headset, we recommend you to use it so that your voice can clearly and loudly to be heard. During the Q&A discussion session, all participants, please use the chat box to deliver the questions. Thank you for your cooperation and consideration.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for joining our researcher and research student enrichment program today. Before we start our agenda, let me inform the webinar protocol to join this event. First, please adjust your name or ID screen using the given format on the slide show that are being shown to you right now. Second, during the event, please turn off your audio and only turn on the audio when the moderator gives you the chance. Third, please turn on your camera. And fourth, please ensure your network has a stable connection. And fifth, adjust the seat position comfortably to prevent the backlight effect. Now I will also read out the important information for today. First, please fill in the attendance form on the link bit.ly/attendance_R2SEP 2021. The link will be closed in 15 minutes. Second, please fill in the feedback form that will be shared 15 minutes before the session ends and will be closed after 1 hour. Third, the attendance and feedback is compulsory for these purposes. First, mandatory attendance for ITS masters and doctoral students new intake. Second, certificate of participation, and it's eligible for international participants who have 60% attendance or minimal 5 meetings. And then third, it's for STEM for it, and it's eligible for ITS undergraduate students. Welcome to Researcher and Research Student Enrichment Session on today, Tuesday, the 27th of May 2021. I am Nur from ITS Global Engagement, and today I will be your master of ceremony for this session. Please do not forget to fill your attendance at the link bit.ly/attendance R2SEP 2021 that also will be sent by our committee via the Zoom chat room, and the link will be closed in 15 minutes from now. Participants who wish to ask questions during the question and answer session, please send your questions at the link bit.ly/softang Q&A_R2SEP 2021. They will be also be sent by our committee via the Zoom chat room later. Alternatively, you may raise your hand during the Q&A session to ask your question directly. Before we start our agenda, allow me to deliver our schedule today as follows. For the first agenda is the opening, and then continued by the second agenda, which is the introduction to the moderator and speaker. After that will be the main session or the lecture session, and then followed by the Q&A session, and will be continued by the certificate awarding. Finally, followed by the last agenda, that is the closing of R2SEP. Before we move on to the next agenda, please allow me to elaborate about today's lecture. Today's lecture theme in the soft engineering stream of R2SEP is about research management skills, which will be delivered by our speaker, Dr. Muhammad Ali Tarek from Malaysia, Japan International Institute of Technology and University Technology Malaysia, and Ms. Dewanti Anggrahini from ITS will be the one conducting today's session as our moderator. Let me introduce our moderator for today. Our moderator today, Ms. Dewanti, is a lecturer in Department of Industrial and Systems Engineering, and Ms. Dewanti is also a researcher in Laboratory of Manufacturing System and a member of the Center of Manufacturing, Transportation and Logistics Studies, Institute Technology 10 November. As for her educational background, Ms. Dewanti finished her bachelor degree in Industrial Engineering Department at ITS, and her master degree in Institute Technology Bandung, also in Industrial Engineering and Management. Her research interests include manufacturing engineering, management of technology, and lean manufacturing. Now that you are informed about our moderator, without further ado, let's proceed to the main agenda. To Ms. Dewanti as our moderator, the time is yours.
Okay, thank you so much, Ms. Nur. Well, ladies and gentlemen, may I have your attention, please? Our program is about to begin. Thank you. Okay, respectable Director and Management Team of Global Engagement Directorate, Dr. Maria Anityasari and Dr. Astria Nur Irfansyah, the Honorable Director of Graduate Programs, Professor Heri Kuswanto, especially our distinguished speaker, Dr. Muhammad Ali Tarek, all of the ITS students, honorable guests, and participants. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. First thing first, I would like to introduce myself. I'm Dewanti Anggraini, a faculty member in the Department of Industrial and Systems Engineering ITS. It is an honor to me to be the moderator of this insightful program, R2SEP, with the topic is Research Management Skills. I'm very pleased to see you here and welcome all of you to this program, which is conducted by the Directorate of Global Engagement and Directorate of Graduate Programs. Before the presentation begins, please allow me to welcome Dr. Muhammad Ali Tarek.
Assalamualaikum. Assalamualaikum everyone. Assalamualaikum Ms. Dewanti.
Waalaikumsalam, Dr. Muhammad Ali Tarek. Okay, as I mentioned before, Dr. Muhammad Ali Tarek is one of the senior lecturer in Malaysia, Japan International Institute of Technology, University Technology Malaysia. He is also the Deputy Director of Disaster Preparedness and Prevention Center. Dr. Muhammad Ali Tarek got his PhD in Business Management in Shiga University, Japan. He finished the MBA program and also got the Master in Philosophy in Real Estate Finance in Cambridge University, UK and Dhaka University, Bangladesh. And he also graduated from the Dhaka University with the degree of BBA in Finance and Banking. His research interests and projects, such as the financial engineering, real estate finance, saving mobilization, innovation and technology management, and he also has various experiences in the empirical data on mobile money hesitation factors in Somalia. Okay, without further ado, let me invite Dr. Tarek to deliver the speech for approximately 60 minutes. Then we will continue to the next session to discuss any question that being asked from the participants. For those who have any question, you may write in the chat box or you can raise your hand. So Dr. Tarek, the time is yours. Excuse me, Dr. Tarek, is it still mute?
Sorry.
Yeah.
Okay, it's a goosebump to start with. So it happens. So, okay, thank you very much. And thank you, ITS Surabaya, for inviting me for this lecture. And it is really an honor to be here as one of the speakers for your R2SEP lecture series. So I will be here and discussing about the research management skill from my experiences. Okay, so and I wish to thank you everyone for being here today, and I hope everyone is safe from the COVID pandemic that we are having now, because today also in Malaysia we are having about 7,847 cases, so new cases. So recently this wave of new cases actually are very alarming, and we are actually in a lockdown at the moment. So everyone is working from home. So maybe as I have only 60 minutes for my presentation, so let me start sharing my screen. So I hope you can see my presentation slide.
Perfect, Dr. Tarek.
Yeah. So you can read it, right? So it's from left to right, right? Not because sometimes my system has mirror image, so it becomes like Arabic written from the right to left. Okay. So what actually I will be talking about today. So as the topic says that the management research management skill. So what I have seen over the years that there are lots of videos, lots of lectures available on YouTube, how to conduct the research, how you plan for your research, how you what are the steps to reach the aim. But what I thought, maybe why not I make the presentation in slightly different way, where I share my own experiences and what I have seen, how my students have been managing their research over the years. So I have graduated a few students, both in PhD and masters. So I will be sharing their experiences as well. And at the same time, as I have also completed my MPhil and PhD, so I will share my experiences at the same time. Okay. So, and at the same time, as I have already mentioned to Ms. Devanti, our moderator for today's session, if you have any queries, so you can ask me anytime during the presentation as well. So, and also you can ask me at the end of the session also. Okay, so as you can see that our happiness is actually whenever we get our degree. So be it a PhD or MPhil or anything. But the question is the but. Okay, so what actually happens in between? So this is what I will be discussing, I will be sharing in today's lecture. Okay, so first of all, as you can see, I have created a Padlet page for you. If you scan this QR code, so it will take you to this page where you can share your views. It's just like a Facebook stream, so you can just share your comments or your opinion over there. So if you and then we can discuss from there as well. Okay, so as we move on, so there is a big difference between our plan and our actual journey. Okay, especially for the research journey. So before we start our plan, so if you look at the picture above, so this is what we think of our journey for any research degree. Okay, so for undergrad, it might be more straightforward because the students are being directed towards the education and towards the learning. They have to follow the instructions directly given by the instructors. So their journey is more kind of different than our research journey. But when we, for the research journey, so we have less supervision. We need to have self-discipline. We need to have self-control. As such, our reality is not as smooth as we presume. So if that is the case, so there will be a lots of ups and downs. Sometimes we will be happy, sometimes we will be sad. Sometimes we will be, sometimes we will not be happy seeing our progress. So that might be demoralizing for us. Okay, so we have to be careful about that. So we will talk about those things slowly over the years. Over throughout the lecture. Now, once we are almost going through the everything and then we are closer to the goal, then the new problem may arise. Okay, so this is that means finishing your research is not the end of the story, but presenting and getting it approved through your thesis as well as your presentation is what actually matters at the end. So maybe there are lots of students who I have seen or I have heard from our friends and colleagues that their research skills was excellent, but when it come for their thesis presentation, a lot of them has failed to explain what they have done. So if the students fail in presenting their ideas to the panel of examiners during the presentation at the end of the research for the degrees, so that might create some questions in the examiner's mind whether the research has really been conducted by him or not. So at the end of the day, so we have to make sure that our students and the students also have to make sure that they know what they are doing. Okay, so we have to be very careful of that. Excuse me. So now, moving forward, like there are different steps, different tips, different advices from the experts that how you can increase your productivity. Okay, so the first thing that everything starts with a well plan. So if you can plan well and organize yourself, then that is the first step of your research activities. So if you do not plan what you are planning to do or what you should do, probably you will not be able to maneuver your research or your board where you are heading towards. Then you need to maintain a task manager. Okay, so that means now there are lots of ways that we can keep track of our activities. When I did my PhD, so we did not have this, so we used to maintain have records on our diaries. So I still do that, but there are lots of task managers tools that you can find for your use. Then comes the prioritizing your work. So there are lots of activities that you will be facing during your research activities. So as I presume that today's participants are mostly the postgraduate students. So they are what I am presuming that they are adults. So they might be having families. They will be working as well. They might be doing this research as part-time. So they have to make sure that they plan, and for them planning is more important than others, because for undergrad they do not need the planning well because their plan is done by their academic supervisors most of the time. But for the postgraduate, so supervisors helps, but the planning should be coming from the students at first. And when the planning is being approved, but the managing the time between or among the works, that is on the self-discipline of the students, of the researcher. So you have to make sure that you follow that and you do not lose the sight of your goal. Okay, then comes the avoid distraction. So what I have just said, that if you have a family, if you have kids, so obviously you will have distraction. That means when you are planning to sit to work at home or at somewhere at your office, suddenly you are receiving a call from your home saying that your kid could not go to the school today because he is sick or he is not eating well. So that means these are the distractions that you might be facing. Okay. Next comes that when you have organized and planned, you are prioritizing your work. Another important thing is you have to set your goals quantitatively. Okay, sometimes what we do, we set our goals qualitatively, that yes, I need to finish this work, so I will finish the paper, but that might not be a quantifiable one. But if I say that, okay, by today I will try to finish my data collection or sorting of the data. So that means if we know and if we can set our goals more in a quantitative way, so we will be able to see whether we were able to reach or not. Okay, so that means that will give us more control over our activities. Okay, then comes the automation of the work. So now there are lots of there are lots of what is called like lots of the tools and programs that actually will help you to keep track of your activities. It's just like a task manager. And also if you talk about the analyzing softwares, so there are lots of softwares. Before we needed to write the programs, we needed to do a lot of things manually, but you can find everything as patch that you can use as an add-on to your existing software. So these are the important things. Then another important thing is that you need to take a break. So it is not about working all the time. Okay, so during my PhD, my MPhil, I worked, but at the same time, I was in UK, I was in Japan. So I made sure that I travel around. So whenever we had the holidays, so I went to the north, to Tokyo, or I went to the Yamaguchi, to the south of Japan. We move around, we mingle with friends, we mingled with, and we had picnics and so many activities. So these are the taking the break. So these actually are not distracting you. Instead, this will help you to concentrate more with an open and a fresh mind when you come back to work again. Okay. One of the most important thing is the next one, that avoid procrastination. Procrastination means that do not leave your work undone, number one. Number two, do not leave the work to be done until the end moment. Okay, that means I have to do it. I will do it, but when I need to submit it at the 11th hour, so it should not be like that. Okay, so yes, there are different types of the ability of the researchers may vary, but some of the researcher may think that yes, I can work best at the end moment. Okay, so like me, so if I love to work at the end moment, so when I have to submit, then I start working, but I am working at that moment, it does not mean that I do not have any plan. So what I do normally, for those researchers who love to work at the end moment, so you can work at the end moment, but make your contingency ready. Contingency means what you will be writing at the end moment. Means your plan, the plan has to be there. You have to have your thinking, your notes prepared that you will be able to use at the end moment. Okay, so if you do not have your notes ready, and you might not be able to find those notes at the end moment. Maybe your internet might not be working. Okay, maybe you are out of electricity, or your computer or your system might crash. Okay, so what will be the backup for those? So if you cannot avoid the procrastination, so you have to make sure that you have the backup plans. Okay, then comes, you have to be stay motivated. Okay, and lastly, the most important thing during your research should be, for example, like if you go to a conference, so why now most of the time you will see that professors are traveling around the world. Researchers are traveling around the world, and so we might be thinking why actually they are traveling around, because they are traveling around because they are creating the network. Okay, so a network, and during the conferences they are also presenting the research activities, so that will also be helping them to create the network. Just for example, today I am giving this lecture today, so I am sure I am establishing a new network with ITS. Right, so then there might be some researchers who probably might be thinking, if they are interested in some of my research activities, probably they might also be contacting me in the future. So this is kind of creating the networks. So this is what actually I meant. Okay, so these are the 10 steps that I found more important. And related to the research management skill, but mostly these 4 are the most important ones. Avoid distraction, set quantitative goals, avoid procrastination, because I have seen lots of my students fumble on this. And lastly, the 4th one, most important thing that you should be focusing at is you have to stay motivated. Okay, so make sure that you know you are following these things. Okay. Now, there is a clear distinction between, not clear distinction, I should say that similarities, that your postgraduate degree and your kindergarten, okay, means your schooling, primary schooling. If you look at this cartoon, actually most of my slides you will see the pictures. Okay, so picture says 1,000 words. I will just explain some of those. Okay, now probably what you see, I also see that whenever I set to work, especially for writing the research paper, I feel sleepy. I don't know, there might be a positive correlation between that, right? So this is just like that, like in the kindergarten, so they always used to put you to sleep so that you do not be too naughty. Okay, so then comes that in your postgrad, you need adult supervision. Your supervisors have to make control of you, sorry, on you. Okay, then you get cookies for lunch, because sometimes what happens is we forget to take lunch. So what I do sometimes, if I have some cookies in my bag, I will just grab, and luckily, but it's seldom, not always. Okay, it means I am too much, I might be too much in the work, or indulge in the work, so I forgot to grab the lunch in time. So then we have a quick cookie break or something. Okay, and this is the one of the most important thing that we be careful about: copy pasting. Okay, research is all about copy pasting, but copy pasting is okay. You have to know what you are copying and what you are pasting. Okay, and after the pasting, you have to format. What I am trying to refer here is not that copy paste. Remember, there is one software called Turnitin. Okay, so if you copy and paste, you are caught. But copying means copying other work, and pasting should be what you think of that work by yourself. Okay, that means you have to explain that in your own word, and you have to relate that to your work, to your research. Okay, so it's not that I'm just directly copy pasting this and I copying this and pasting this in my research. So you will see that you can easily see that if one sentence is saying that yes, he is going uphill. Then the next sentence, if you copy paste without any relation, it might be saying that yes, he came down flying. So what happens in between? Right. So this is, we have to be very careful about what we are copying and how we are synthesizing, how we are analyzing and synthesizing and explaining. Okay. And then the last one, if you see that crying for mummies means like we try to say, what actually are we doing? What is the use of this? And then obviously almost all of us have saying at point in time that who invented the education, right? So that is what actually the realization that we have sometimes. Okay. And then one of the most important thing I always tell to my students that the more time you give to your research, the more time it will take. Why? Because in the postgrad, you need more adult supervision, but sometimes we will not be able to give you might not, students, the researchers and the supervisors also have many students. So sometimes you might say that, okay, prof, I could not finish it this week, I will give it next week. And the next week comes, then you say that, okay, prof, I could not finish it, so please, can I submit it next week? That means you are extending your submission date. There is no cutoff point. Okay, so the thing is, you will see many students, there is a normal, regular PhD finishing time, maybe 6 semesters, means 3 years to 4 years. But you will see that the students who crossed 4 years, they cannot finish before 7 to 8 years, because after that 3-4 years, they lose concentration. Okay, so they lose concentration. Sometimes they lose the direction as well. Okay, so that is why I always say that the more time you give to your research, the more time it will take. So how to avoid that? If you set up a quantitative goal, and if you set up your plan that, okay, in 3 months, I will do this percentage. So then if you can make some comparison between these two, then you will see that you actually are on track. Okay, so this is why I have been saying that grad school is more like the kindergarten, where adult supervision is more needed. Okay, so make sure that you spend time with your supervisors. Okay, I'm presuming that I'm talking to the researchers. Okay, so maybe there might be professors here as well. So Prof, I'm not saying anything to you, but I'm just mostly saying those to the students. Okay, that you have to make sure that you keep close contact with your supervisors and your professors. The more you get closer, the more you will be able to learn from their experiences. Okay. Now, if I want to talk about the research journey, so the journey might look like this. Okay, so in the first semester, yes, before you enter for the PhD degree or master degree, when you have your proposals, so you might see, it might seem that maybe here, maybe when you are writing your research proposal, so you might think that, yes, I have my research activities planned, I have a good research proposal, blah, blah, blah. But when you enter, then you will see that that is the only beginning. Because the moment you enroll, the first thing I ask my student to do is to do literature review. Okay, so literature review means, okay, if I draw a funnel like this, so most of the time when the students come, they focus here. Okay, so they have their focus on the end of the funnel. Okay, they think that, yes, I know what I am doing and where I am going, but they fail to look at the broader issues. Okay, so whenever a new student comes, what I do, I send them their focus here. Why? Because this is where the literature are. Okay, so when you have your literature over here, then you start processing and you review and everything, then you should come up with your new proper research focus, research objectives, research goals. Okay, so that is why some of the students feel that they are lost, but that is actually their groundwork for the future, so that if they have the clear idea about the literatures, they will not fail in the future. Because remember, when they have to present their thesis to the panel, so they have to make their argument based on their literatures. Okay, so now what I call this stage, phase 2, as the trap. Why I'm saying this trap? It actually happens in the second year, or the first semester in the second semester in the second year, or first semester in the third year. Okay, why? Because these questions might pop up. Why am I doing the research, means PhD? I am studying here, but my friends are earning so much of money. Okay, so why am I involved here? So these are, if this is normal, all of the students who who have done their PhD, I also felt this kind of situation, that what is the use of doing my PhD? But the more important thing that I had with my supervisor is the research ideas, because I was focusing on here, but my supervisor was asking me to focus on this. Okay, I will give you that, I will show you that slide later on. Okay, but this actually happens. There are lots of things. The situation might arise, pop up in your head, that why am I doing the research here? Why? What is the use of doing these PhDs? So this is what I call the trap for my students. Okay, I had two of my students who actually were lost in in the second year. Okay, lost means like they were international students, and then they were saying that why am I taking so long, or why am I not getting the proper research idea, these kind of things. But alhamdulillah, both of them has graduated. Okay, so one of them graduated on time actually. So later on, he rushed to finish the PhD. Okay, now moving to the next part. In the research, one of the most important thing is publication. Okay, okay, Ms. Dewanti, is there any questions so far that we should take, or we can continue?
Okay, I haven't received any question, Dr. Tarek, so we can continue.
Yeah, sure, sure. So
Yeah.
maybe I will continue if they have any queries. So I hope they can get to me. Okay. So
Yeah,
now,
thank you.
yes. So now what I will be talking about, that about the academic publication. So there is a dilemma. Okay. So dilemma in the sense that, should we go for quantity or quality? Okay. So I have my students. I had some of them were saying that, doctor, please let me publish. But I am not in favor of the quantity. But what I did, there is a minimum requirement of publication for the graduation. So I made sure that by the year 2, means say by second year, they meet uh, all the minimum requirement for their graduation. Okay, so what I have seen sometimes, especially what happened to me as well. So I had to rush for publication just before my thesis submission. So at that time, I felt, should I be publishing or writing the thesis? So that was my dilemma. So since then, I have decided, no, I have to make sure that my students fulfill their minimum criteria for graduation. so that they do not need to worry about the publication at the moment. So when I'm saying that minimum criteria, it doesn't mean that I oversee the quality, but I make sure that they get publication either in Scopus listed or Web of Science listed journals. Okay, so I made sure of that, because if you are talking about the quality, then those are the two reliable indexing that we can rely on. Okay, but at the same time, there are different levels of the indexing from Q1 up to Q4. Obviously, Q1 will take 2 years, 3 years, depending on which area that you are focusing on. So as I am from the social science, so especially my major is finance. So the Q1 publication in the top finance journal sometimes takes 2.5 years. Okay, so I cannot let my students to wait until that time. So yes, if we have the quality of that kind of research, yes, submit that for publication, but I have to make sure that we submit another paper so that they can have a faster publication. Okay, but for the engineering research, there are lots of good journals, and then in the engineering research, so the publication is much faster than social science research. Okay, so maybe you can talk to your respective supervisors and look for the quality journals before you publish. Okay, now which one should we look at? So if we look at the quantity, it's just about the write and publish. We do not look at the quality. Okay, but if we are planning to focus towards our career enhancement, we have to look at the quality as well. Okay, so when we are talking about the quality, there are 4 things that you have to focus on: check, write, check, and publish. Okay, means the first check is the advancement, means like the research that I am doing. What are the recent advancement? Means I'm talking about the recent literature review. Okay, and then which journal should I publish? Okay, so that means I have to make check and balance. Then comes the writing. Once the writing is done, then I have to check with the journal that I have selected here, that what is the requirement of the journal for publication. Okay, then you should submit and get your paper published. Okay, why am I saying this? Because of this. This is one of the more recent concern for the academic world, that predatory publications. Okay, so we have to be very careful. Recently, Scopus also had one webinar on this, that predatory journal publication. And unfortunately, the Southeast Asia actually is one of the top in predatory journal publication. So that means it is not the researcher's fault, but it is the what is called like that misunderstanding of the researcher and failure of the researcher to identify the proper journal, the correct journal to publish. Okay, so we have to be very careful on that. Okay, now when we are talking about when we talk about the predatory journals or predatory publishing, there are 2 types of things. Like they actually are focused on income generation. Okay, and at the same time, they have poor quality, and their journal gets discontinued in indexing. Okay, so that means you have published now, but after 5 years, that journal might be off the index. Yes, your paper will be still indexed, but it might give a bad name to your research. Okay, the same happened to me when I, back in 2013, 2012, I published one paper. At that time, indexing was not that important, but still that journal was indexed in Scopus at that time. But after in 2016, sorry, 2015, that journal was blacklisted. Okay, so I still feel bad why I selected that journal. But in 2013, we did not have the database or information like we have now. At that time, we did not have this kind of, I still did not know well what is this indexing. Okay, so these are the things that the information is much more better available for you at the moment. So you just need to look for the information in a proper way. Okay. Now, for the predatory journal, so how you can trace the predatory journals. Okay, so for your better understanding, I just make a synopsis of those points. Okay, the first one is accepting quickly. That means they are very fast in accepting the journals, papers for publication. I will show you an example. Okay, then they cite fake impact factors. Remember, when we are talking about the impact factor actually is only for Web of Science listed journals. Okay, so if any journal is saying that we have impact factor of 7, but it is not listed in Web of Science, it means it is a fake journal. Okay, so you have to be very careful. For Web of Science, we use impact factor. For Scopus, we use site score. Okay, so we will just make sure of that. So impact factor 1 for the Web of Science and site score for Scopus. So you just do some Google, you will get to know more on this. Okay. And then there are other important points. Just for example, sometimes you will see that they also listed the academic's name in the editorial board without their permission. Okay, so it happens a lot. So make sure that you do some research before you select the publication. Okay. This is one of the, I think all if the researchers are here, professors or our lecturers are here, so we receive this kind of email, right? A lot, especially soon after you present any paper in any conference. Okay, so I have blurred the sensitive information like the journal name, email addresses, because this is being recorded and it will be on YouTube. So later on, they will send me some legal notice for presenting this. But that's why I put some. This is the mail that I received last year. Actually, I received this kind of mail almost every week. But this is a snapshot of the mail from June 10 last year. So I think you have already read this. So can you tell me the red flags here? Should I send this paper for any paper for publication in this journal or not? There are lots of red flags here. Okay, so at the beginning, my students also ask me sometimes that, Prof, Doctor, should we send it to this journal, that journal? But I have also taught them that no, look at the red flag. Number 1, email address says iCloud. Okay. Number 2, this paper will be published in October and your submission is September. How many months you have they have in hand for publication? Okay, your submission, Gmail. Okay, so there are lots of red flag that you can find from your. So these are the ways of managing your research actually. So some of you might be thinking, what is the importance of this? No, but when you are sending any paper, they will publish your paper maybe in 1 month or 2 months, or maybe in 15 days. Sometimes they said that, okay, you will get your acceptance in 7 days. So in the good journals, when we send the paper, actually they keep the paper in editorial office for at least 2 weeks, just to read and understand whether this paper can be sent to the reviewer or not. Whereas many other journals, they say that they will publish it in 1 month. So that is actually not possible, because the journal, the reviewer also needs some time to read and understand and to review the paper. And no writer is perfect. That means you will get some review wherever you send your paper to. Okay, that means you get your review means you have to resubmit again after the revision. So how will you be able to do it in 1 month? Okay, so these are the red flags that you have to be very careful about selecting your journals for publication. Okay, then whenever you are in doubt about any journal, okay, so if you are any doubt about any journal, so I was in doubt about this journal. So what I did, I went to their website. Okay, so if you go to the website, then you will see many red flags. Okay, so they are saying they are Scopus listed, but there is no Scopus logo here. So if they say that, okay, it is Scopus listed, so you should go to the Scopus website database and check whether it is listed there or not. Then they are saying this is Social Science Citation Index, which is SSCI. This is under Web of Science. So you go there and you cannot find this journal. I could not find it. Okay, so you can see that they are published from UK. So it is not necessary which country they are publishing it from. Every country will have this kind of journals. Okay, so you have to be very careful about selecting the journal for your publication. Okay, why this is important? Because your research might be very good, but this journal might be very bad for your research. Even though the journal might not be predatory, but the level of journal might not be good, suitable for your paper. Your paper might be good. So if it is a bad journal, so the citation will be low in the future. Okay, or maybe you might have some bad names that this researcher published in that journal, which is not good. So this kind of like this word of mouth might also be bad in your your academic career. Okay. Now, if you want to know more about predatory journals, so you can go to this website, predatoryjournals.com. So they have the list of the predatory journals, and then they update the journals, this list every year. Okay, so then you can see, and also you can see it from Scopus and Web of Science, the discontinued list. Discontinued list. So they every year they update their list, which has been discontinued from the list. So that means whenever there is a discontinuation, so there will be a reason behind that. So they also list that. Okay, so then you just have a look at that. Now, okay, so after you write whenever you are planning to publish a paper, so there are a couple of steps that you should be thinking about. The first one, the steps are from preparation to submission. Okay, so in between, you should follow these steps. The first one is before you start writing, you can select the journal. Means like you have some probable journals that where should I publish? And then shortlisting the process and tools, like an aim and scope of the journal. So that means you are searching and checking. Okay, so everything you are doing, and then up to here, after you finalizing your manuscript according to them, then only you should submit. Okay, so what happens was different journal has different templates. okay, for their paper. So especially if it is a good journal, you have to follow those templates pretty well. If you do not follow the templates when you are submitting the paper, they will return your paper and ask you to resubmit after formatting properly, the following the template that they have provided. Okay, so make sure that you do that. Okay, this is number one. Number two is their aim and scope are very important, because what is the aim of the journal and what is the scope of that journal, whether it is whether your research matches their scope or not. Okay, just if you think of finance, so in finance there are so many categories: corporate finance, corporate governance, uh, investment finance, and portfolio management. So there are journals for each of those categories. So if I write a paper on corporate governance and if I send it to the investment related journals, probably they will say that this is not our scope of this journal. Okay, so in that case, our research paper will be returned and they will be asking for resubmission. Okay, now I think I just need to speed up a bit. So I will share this slide later on. So maybe later on, if you have any queries, you can just have a look at it, and you can contact me anytime. I will provide you my contacts later on. Okay, and then there are different tools to check your journal metrics, ranking, and other things. So you can go to that. This is the journal metrics. You can use the journal citation index or site score, or you can see Schemago for taking the Scopus journals as well. And there are different lists and databases. So there are Scopus journal metrics, journal quality list, ABDC, and then Web of Science, so journal citation index by Web of Science. So you can have a look at those databases for the identification of the proper journals. Okay. Now, to summarize this, what I have been talking about for this part is that the most of the important thing is the top ranked journal will never send email to publish. Okay, that means they all throughout the year, they get so many papers that they do not need to invite for others to submit the papers unless you are a top researcher. Okay, so they will not do that. And then always check the publisher, editorial committee members, indexing and ranking before you publish. Okay. Then the cross-check the journal indexing with official indexing and ranking provider. So these are the 4 points that you should focus or look at. So as I have told you at the end, that when in doubt, check. If something raises any concern, always better to check with the proper database or indexing to know more about that. Okay. Now, this is actually very true if there are some PhD students there now who are in the second year, so they already are feeling this. Okay, so before you start your research, it might look a straightforward goal. Okay, but when you start the research, you will see that instead of reaching here, you have reached here. Okay, not only that, if you look at this part, what he is doing, he is drawing his own research area, right? And that means his goal, he has found a new goal, and he is trying to clarify the literature surrounding his research area. This might also be possible. Okay, that means the focus that you might have before starting your PhD or research might not be the goal that you reach after the research and at the end of the period. Okay, for example, this is what happened to me, my real life, my life example. Okay, this was my research title when I sent it to my supervisor in Japan in 2007. Okay, the title was The Pricing of Risk, Predicting Variation of Economic Risk Premium in Returns. So that was my research title, but I did something completely opposite of that. Okay, means my proposed title, that what I thought was right, and I actually proved that wrong. Okay, my real life example. So my focus was on risk. Okay, so risk actually is future. So what we were thinking before I start the PhD, that we actually take past data to measure the risk. Okay, and then when the past data is wrong, is negative, then we say that no, there was no risk. But actually the risk is in the future, right? So if we take the past data to measure the risk, we actually are not getting the right data. That means what my supervisor did, remember I have told you before that I was having some disagreement with my supervisor, why my supervisor is not letting me work on what I believe. Okay, so what my supervisor did, after I started my PhD in 2008, October 2008, so he let me work. He gave me data. He taught me the research method, not research method, research analysis and other things, and he let me work on my belief. Okay, and then when I conducted so many types of analysis and I was not getting a positive relationship between risk and return. Okay, so if this is risk and return, so that means the higher the risk, the higher will be the return. Instead, what I was getting was always negative, because, and I cannot explain the risk and return then, because I was believing in this, what I believe. Then my supervisor said that, okay, you are predicting risk and return, which is for the future, but you are taking the past data. So how can you prove the positive relationship if the market is bad? If the price is going down, how can you prove that your risk is higher with the return? Okay, so that's why what I was saying in the previous slide, that the goal that we might have in our mind when we start the PhD might be completely different from what we end up doing. The reason why I'm saying this is we do not need to be so robust or so strict to our principle, it's not principle, to our research goal. Okay, so our research, it should be flexible enough to make adjustment throughout your research activities. Okay, now you might be thinking, what happened to all these analysis that I did, right? Okay, before that, maybe when we were having this situation in 2013, I think if there is anyone who is from a finance background, probably they know him. He is the 1990 Nobel laureate in economics, William Sharpe. So when we actually were lost in our research, we sent an email to him that this is what we have found. So, but we believe our idea is right. So should we proceed or not? So that was our, and obviously I attached my part of the paper to that email. So this is the reply that the Nobel laureate gave to us. That means he said, yes, whatever you are doing is right. Okay, so, but try to explain it more in detail. So that was actually was a boost for me and for my supervisor as well, because my supervisor has been trying to work on this topic for a long time, but three of his students could not do that. But somehow maybe I was wrong. He proved me wrong before, so I followed his instruction later on. Okay, so later on we came up with my thesis. So this was the thesis, my introduction, the first page of my thesis. Okay, so it was a bit of non-conventional. I started with an example, with three examples. Okay, the title that I had, this title, before my start of my PhD, actually that title was the chapter 1 of my thesis. I proved that whatever I was thinking is wrong in the first chapter of my thesis. Then we move to more theoretical aspect. Okay, so this is why I'm saying this, because this actually is what I am trying to say here is, it does not necessary that if you are doing something wrong, that is wrong. It is not like that. Okay, so that might be a new beginning for you. Okay, so then I think we are running short of time, so I will try to speed up a bit. Okay, then this was my part of my what's called PhD presentation. Okay, my PowerPoint, but I just brought 15 here, but I had more slides. So if you can see, if you're planning to prepare anything, the first slide of my presentation after the title was the overall idea of my research. Okay, so it might not be similar to your research, but if you can prepare this kind of slide that summarizes your research, then it will be much easier for the panel to understand. Okay, anyone to understand. So that's why I have said that PhD is your story. Okay, with supported by theories, but you have to make these understandable to your audience. Okay, so this is what the PhD or any research is. If you write Hebrew and if the research is very good, if no one can understand, it doesn't have any value. Okay, but if your words are very simple, easier to understand, there is no jargons in there, that will be well accepted by the readers. Okay. This was my supervisor. This picture was taken in 2016 or 17. So actually I graduated and he retired. So we on the same, I graduated on the 25th of March, 2013, and he retired on 31st of March, 2013. So I was his last student. But Alhamdulillah, last month I still have contact with him. So he is being appointed as a Professor Emeritus in the same university. So I contacted him recently. So he's about 78 years old now. Now, so that was my lecture. So far what we have been discussing, you might be thinking, why are you listening to me? Right, so this is me. I have some experiences so that I could share my experiences with you. I'm working at MJIIT of UTM, University of Technology, Malaysia. So I'm working here since 2013. So I think after 3 days, it will be my 8th year with University of Technology, Malaysia. And I am heading this laboratory at the moment. My major is finance, but I have moved my research towards more innovation management, innovation and technology management, where actually I can interlink between the intellectual property data with financial information to know about the company's performance as well as the strategic planning of the company. Okay, so you can see, I have seen our moderator graduated from ITB, right? So her master was from ITB. So I have collaboration with ITB as well. Then I have collaboration with UITM Malaysia, Danang University, and Chiang Mai University, as well as Czech Republic, Kralov University of Kralov, as well as Yamaguchi University in Japan. So this is a joint laboratory. So together with Yamaguchi University, this is what the laboratory that I set up in 2016 November. Okay, so I took this opportunity to promote myself as well a bit. Okay, so maybe there might be some researchers who might be interested as well, if they think that maybe their research or my research might be close to their research as well, so we can obviously collaborate anytime. Okay, so what actually I am working on at the moment, that how the intellectual property can lead to the innovation management. Okay, so that's why if you look at here, so there are 3 research topic here. Okay, so for the first one, if you look at the blue dotted one, so it actually gives you the knowledge spillover, knowledge management. Okay, knowledge management is when we're talking about the triple helix, we are talking about government, industry, and university. Okay, so how the collaboration means you can think of the spin-off companies here. Okay, then the second one, the brown one, it is more on technology exploitation and technology exploitation, where I'm talking about open innovation. Okay, open innovation in the sense that how the information technology is coming in and going out, so how this can affect the company's performance. Okay, lastly, another one focus might be also in the patents, which is the technology intellectual property of the company, and a stock performance. So that as a whole, this can be a summarization of the what we call technology management. Okay, so as maybe there are students from technology management, so this is actually what as a whole is technology management. Yeah. I had one publication with Czech Republic University, one of the Czech Republic University, so that was in open innovation. Okay, so I put it here so that some of the students who is working on open innovation might be interested here as well. Okay, so these are some of my papers, so maybe later on you can have a look at, and this is my educational background and working experiences. So I've been working as a lecturer since 2003. So it's almost 18 years of teaching and research activities for me. Okay, and the students that I miss, these are the list of my PhD students that I have graduated already. Okay, so far I have graduated, how many? Like 6 PhD, and the rest 9 are not 9, more than 9. Right, so 10, 11 students, so 6 PhD and 11 master students. And luckily, actually, these 2 are from Indonesia, and another 2 is drafting their thesis, so they will be submitting soon. And out of these, the circle ones are the international students that I had. And this
guyonan tuh gini,
graduated on time.
Kemarin sama teman-teman.
I had some experiences in
Kan
research
kita
management, so that's
ada
why
ini kan, ada isu merger kan, ada isu akuisisi.
Okay,
Sebelum
so
sama setelah akuisisi, setidaknya kalau ditanya orang,
so
itu nggak panjang-panjang amat jelasinnya. Kalau sebelumnya nih,
is interested to work in the technology adaptation of mobile money, because now the world is moving towards the crypto age, crypto in the sense that mobile money or digital money age. So maybe there are lots of research potential in that area. So recently I had one PhD student graduated, so who is from Somalia, So he worked on this technology adaptation of mobile money in Somalia. So this is what we worked on. Okay, so maybe we can do similar kind of studies in Indonesia or in Surabaya or any other areas as well. So it can be a case study as well. Okay, so what this research was focusing on is there are different functions of mobile money, but mobile money transfer is well used. But this one, the mobile money financial system and these mobile money payments are not that well used in developing countries. Why? Okay, so what are the problems? So what we found is we call a technology hesitation factor. Okay, so there are technology adaptation, technology acceptance is there, but no one has talked about the technology hesitation factors. So we discussed about that. So maybe we can, I'm not bringing everything in here, but we can work in that area as well. Okay. So these are some of my pictures with my students. So maybe what I will request the researchers, students here, that try to have good relationship with your supervisors, because at the end of the day, if you are close enough, you will get to learn a lot. Okay, and learning is not all about in-class learning. It's more about learning from outside of the class. Okay, so what if you are really close to your supervisor, so you will be, your approach will be different. So the supervisor's approach towards your activities will also be different. Okay, so obviously supervisor will have same concentration to all the students, but if you are close enough, you will have many different types of questions to ask. Okay, so that's why what I am saying, your closeness with your supervisor will help you to ask more questions, because we have hesitation within us, that should I ask this, should I not ask this. So if you are close enough, so you will be asking more questions to your supervisor. Okay, now this student, they and she, they are from Indonesia. Okay, so I had lots of students from Indonesia. Okay, so maybe I have some closeness with Indonesia, you can say. Now, that was all about what I was planning to present. So I hope I did not get you bored. So thank you very much, everyone, for listening to me, whatever I had shared, and I hope it is a bit of beneficial for you, even if you can take 1 minute of my lecture and it helps you. So maybe that will be the success for my sharing today. Okay, thank you very much. So I give the floor back to Ms. Dewanti for any question, if there is. Thank you very much. And
Thank you.
In between, I saw someone raise hand, but I'm not sure. Maybe later they might have some questions. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you so much, Dr. Tarek, for sharing your wonderful experience. It is such an insightful speech. And let me invite all the participants to listen to Dr. Tarek. Thank you. And Dr. Tarek, we have several questions that I found in the chat box, and also the question that written through the link that given by the committee. So for the first, I will read 2 questions from Heru Budi Prasetyo. Okay. The questions are like what you have explained before. What kind of tools of task management that you've used for your last research? Okay, maybe Dr. Tarek could share with with us about the tools and also how you make the schedule or the guidelines of the research. And the second question is, he asked about the funding of your study, Dr. Tariq. Um, was it? I mean, that did you get any scholarship or maybe sort of funding, or it was funded by yourself? Maybe those two questions first, Dr. Tariq.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you very much. The first one about the tools used. Actually, I'm a pretty old guy, so the main two tools that I use normally is I'm not sure by the tools whether he's referring to the referencing tool or the other one, but maybe I will try to focus on both. So the for the first one, um, if for the tool, I normally use like the Excel to keep track of my working. Okay, so because it depends. It depends which format, or you can create your own format. I'm talking about the Gantt chart. Okay, that means timeline, that what I need to do when. And what I do normally, I count backward. Okay, in the sense that if I'm planning to submit a paper in July, say, so what I do, I need to have the final draft at least in the mid of June. Okay, so that means I count backward. So if I want to finish it by June 15, so when I need to finish the analysis. Okay, so this is the way I count back. This is number one. Another one is to, maybe you can draw some mind map. Okay, so mind map in the pen and paper. So that also might help you to keep track of your activities. Okay, mind map, or maybe the network map, that, okay, I am at this node. So next I will go to that node. What are the things I need to do in between? Okay, so this is number two. So if this is the tools that I use, but there are maybe the student who asked this question, we can discuss for other tools as well. But and on the other hand, if his question was focusing on the research, not research, what's called like the bibliometric tools. So normally I use the EndNote, okay, for keeping track of my papers. And when I'm doing the literature review, I use the Excel for that literature review. Okay, so Excel, I created different templates for different types of research. So it depends on the focus of your research. Okay, so this is the first one. Okay. For the second one, the funding. Okay, for my funding for my MPhil, funding for my PhD was by Japanese government, like Mombuka Gakusho scholarship, what is known as MEXT, MEXT, MEXT. Okay, so it's like the Japanese scholarship for the foreigners for PhD, Mombuka Gakusho. Okay, so it's a Japanese Education Ministry's scholarship. But for my MPhil in UK, in Cambridge, so my father funded that. So I was a bit late for the admission letter. So by that time, all the scholarship application date was over. So I could not apply for any scholarship. So, but we did not want to let this admission go. So my father funded that. Yeah. Okay, so these are the two. I hope it answers. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Dr. Tariq. What Mr. Heru means is, if the students if the students have to support their study by themselves, so it means that they should take some part-time jobs, for example, like or they still going on their job, so it could be stressful. And do you have any suggestion to those who fund, I mean, to those who support their finance by themselves.
Okay.
Okay.
Yes. Actually, I also work while I studied. Okay. So because the scholarship, if you have a family living abroad with you, and if your spouse is also studying, so it will be difficult sometimes to manage the family. So maybe you might need to do the part-time sometimes, but it depends. You have to choose the part-time wisely. Okay, and it also depends not on the which country that you are studying, right? So not all country has the good opportunity for the international students to work and earn to support the studies. Okay, so I'm not sure about the Indonesia, but maybe uh, in Malaysia, it might be very difficult for the international students to work and support the study. Okay, because that might be the reason. The reason might be that the abundance of labor. Okay, so because if they can find a labor for $1, why would they pay you $2 per hour? I'm just giving you an example. Okay, but some country maybe there is a minimum salary. In Japan, they have a minimum salary. Said when we were there, the minimum was about, so far I could recall, is 800 yen per Japanese yen per hour or something like that. So that was the minimum, but they used to pay you more than that. Okay, so it depends on, it varies from country to country. Okay, but when you are doing research, yes, if you work, it will hamper your research activities. That's for sure. That's why if you go back to one of my those 10 points, so planning and organizing your work, so that is more important. And if try not to work 5 times a week. If you can, you just try to work on the weekend. Okay, if you cannot work on the weekend, if you have to work on weekdays, so just take the weekend off. You plan your study on the weekend. Okay, so just plan in that way. That might be more beneficial for you.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Tariq. So the most important thing is how the students can manage their time properly, right? And so they can make some prioritize. I mean that they can prioritize their work, but they still can do the research on the I mean that on the track at the right time that we have already scheduled it.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's right. That's right. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you, Dr. Tarek. Now I'm moving to the question from this one. Let me invite Mohammed Mujtaba. So, hello, Mohammed Mujtaba.
Assalamu alaikum and good afternoon. Do you hear me?
Waalaikumsalam. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Perfect.
Background is so bad. Sorry.
Okay.
No
So
worries.
you are from UTM, Malaysia.
Yes, yes.
Actually,
I will tell you the story. I am basically from India, living in Germany and working for, I mean, doing PhD in UTM, you see.
Okay, that's good. Like pure globalization, right?
Yes, 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 yes. And,
which
now
faculty?
attending in Indonesia, this workshop, very good.
Exactly. And which faculty are you in?
I am for computing, School of Computing.
School of Computing,
Johor Bahru, you know.
Johor Bahru, yeah.
Yes. So I was there before pandemic in Malaysia. So it was very good experience, you know.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
So right now I'm working. So my question to Dr. Tariq, you know, we have some similarities between us, you know, Asian, and then you also studied in UCAM, studied in Germany. Now I'm doing in UTM, PhD. So we have so many similarities. So I appreciate, mashallah, you did very good job and you struggle hard. I can feel also. So my question to you, being a PhD student, you know, so right now I'm also working and parallelly I'm doing PhD. So for me, it's a very big challenge. You can say PhD itself is a challenge, and now I'm doing double challenge.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, and with the pandemic, it is extra stress actually.
Extra stress. So I try to release the stress, attending workshop and jogging, etc., etc. I do. Yeah, this is okay, you know. Alhamdulillah. So we should have trust in God. That's important.
Yeah,
That
that's
we have motivated, as you have told us. Motivation is the key for students. So I also want to know from you. You know, I will not take a lot of time. Just you said about God means graduate on time.
yeah,
Okay?
GOT, yeah.
Graduate on time. Also for the international student, I'm talking about the international student, PhD student, or let's say master student, those who are doing research while working and maintaining graduate on time. Do you think, is it feasible or is it possible?
Yeah, it is possible. It is possible.
Okay, just we need your tips, you know, please
okay.
guide us.
Yes, I think it is being recorded. I'm not sure whether your supervisor is listening to this or not. then he will be killing me.
Okay, I will not let you, my supervisor.
No. Just kidding. Yeah, just kidding. We are actually learning every day.
Yes,
okay, so for two of my graduate like students who actually got the GOT. So what actually I made sure in UTM, okay, sorry everyone, because I will just give an example of my university. Okay. So for the GOT, it has to be within 42 months. Yes. So that means your Senate letter should be within 42 months from your admission to the university. And another catch is you cannot submit your thesis before 30 months of your enrollment. Means like after you will be allowed to submit the thesis at the beginning of 6th semester. Yes. Okay. So what I did, my student from Pakistan, the first GOT. Okay. So what I did, you remember, you need to give the notification of thesis submission.
Okay. That means from the 5th semester, we have to finish our thesis and then submit for the next year.
Exactly. Actually, you can finish your thesis in 2 years also. That doesn't matter because that is student.
So. Okay.
Alhamdulillah, that is student.
Speaking, you know, we need more time.
Yeah. But yeah, my alhamdulillah, that is student. He's working in Saudi Arabia at the moment, so University of Hail. So he finishes thesis in 2 years, means like in 24 months. Okay. But he could not submit because of that 30-month issue. Okay, so and you have to write an application just for if you want to submit early. Okay, so but still you cannot submit before 30 months. So what I did, you have to give, I think in Indonesia also it is the same, that you have to give the notification of submission of thesis. So it will take about 2 to 3 months for all the approvals that you are allowed to submit, and whether you meet the minimum criteria for graduation thesis submission, like for the paper publication, conferences, and you have to take 2 courses. So if these are met, then you are allowed to submit the thesis. So what I did, I made sure that he gave the notification on the 24th month that he will submit the thesis, because notification normally is valid for 1 year. Okay. So and then when it is the 30 months 1 day, right? That means on the first day after 30 months, that's why I'm saying that 30-month 1 day, he submitted his thesis. Okay. So because sometimes it takes about 1.5 months to 2 months for the panels to read the thesis. Okay. So 1.5 months is gone. Then if you get the viva, then you might get correction also. Right. So ultimately, sometimes are missing there as well. So you have to keep track of that.
Keep some buffer, you know.
Exactly. Exactly. So if, for example, if you get 6 months correction, for example, B2, and 6-month correction does not mean that you have to you can submit after 6 months. No. You can submit after 1 month as well.
Okay, after 1 month also you can submit. Okay.
So it depends on your discussion between you and your supervisor. and on you also, whether you can finish the correction within that period or not. Okay, so if you can finish that correction within 1 month, why don't you submit it faster? Okay, so that means I'm talking about, it's all about time game.
Yes.
Okay, so research is your part, but after submission of the thesis is completely time game. Okay, so that's why you have to make sure that you count backward.
Okay, so we should have a good planning, very good planning.
Exactly, yeah. But I hope which semester are you in now?
I'm in 3rd semester now.
3rd semester, okay.
Yes, so Alhamdulillah, I have finished my first assessment
Alhamdulillah,
successfully, Alhamdulillah.
Okay,
so
and
now my second question regarding this publication, I concentrated more on the research gaps, etc. Now I want to concentrate for the publication. Okay. So as you have mentioned, we should be we should avoid those predatory, So I think UTM also provides us the list of the journals from where we can publish, but how we should plan, Let's say I have one objective, I found something, so can I publish at the time, or I have to plan, let's say 6 months for the next semester?
No, publication is completely between you and your supervisor. So
okay.
Yes, so there are different levels. Like what I normally do with my students, like after they do some literature review, okay, so and if they are able to get some data, if it is secondary data, is much readily available. So I always tell them, why don't you write a paper, whatever you have read, and try to compare it with the data that you have collected. Okay, I'm talking about more finance, from the financial perspective, right? Stock market data and other company data we can collect from different sources, and we can actually conduct some analysis and write a short paper on that. So then you can send it for publication. So in an index journal that is required by the UTM, by your university, for others. Yes. Okay. So then you are safe from meeting your requirement.
Okay. Inshallah.
Okay. So now that will be, I think that answer your question.
Okay.
Just discuss with your supervisor.
Inshallah. Yeah. Okay. Thank you very much for.
Yeah. No problem. Yeah. Okay, inshallah. Keep in touch. Yeah. I will. Sure. I have my email addresses there, so you can just
Yes, I can. Yes. Yeah. Okay. Thank
you. It's easy. Much. It's just tarek@utm.mo. Yeah. Keep in touch.
Okay. Yes. Yeah. Sure. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Best of luck.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mohammed. And okay, Dr. Tariq, we still have around 5 minutes to discuss one more question. And let me invite Ms. Fanny Juanita from ITS. Hello, Ms. Fanny. Okay, maybe I will read her questions, Dr. Tariq. Yeah. She asked this one, while we write a thesis or doing research, sometimes we often overthinking to reach the extra miles of the result. So there are many uncontrolled variable which we think in our research, then we have a lot of questions. So how can we ignore the uncontrolled factors in our research so that we can focus on finishing our research?
Okay, thank you very much for the question. So if I can get her question correctly, she was saying that when we start the research, we have so many variables, right? But after we collect the data, we also have the variables, and if we incorporate those variables, we get some redundant variables, right? What to do with those variables? Is it like that?
Yes. Deshan, she asked about how to be not to be an overthinking person. To finish. To focus on finishing our research.
Okay. So yeah, I think that is the case. So the first of all, what I would like to say that you have your whole life ahead of you to explain those uncontrolled variables that you are facing at the moment. Okay, so what you can do, what actually two of my students had, one actually had about 31 variables when he started the PhD. I'm talking about the student that I was mentioning just now. So he was doing finance. So during his proposal defense, the panel was asking that will you be able to work on all of these variables? He said yes, number one. Number two, the one for the Somalia, he had 27 variables. Okay, so what I asked both of them to do, I asked them to collect the data on all the variable possible so that they have the data. Okay, and then later on, when they were conducting the analysis, so and in every step of the analysis, I was discussing with them. So I told them to drop all the irrelevant results. Okay, because if you have irrelevant results in the thesis, examiner will ask on that. Okay, so what you can do, you drop those variables from the model. If you have 3 variables in the model, that is also good enough. Okay, so try to explain more on that. So what you can do, you collect the data on all the possible variables so that you have the database ready. Later on, maybe that might not be related to this thesis. So focus on what your model was. Okay, so if you focus on that, just for example, if I say in 1 minute, I want to see my study and my CGPA. Okay, so this is my major goal, but in the background, my study actually is dependent on many latent variables. For example, how many hours I watch TV, how many hours I sleep, how many hours, what is my nutrition level, whether I am eating rice or having salads, okay, whether I'm playing or not. But not all these, actually all these variables are affecting your study time. Okay, but these variables are not important for your study. That means your nutrition level might not be important. Okay, so how many hours you are playing might not be your important. So you focus on these 3 related ones only for your thesis. Later on, after you graduate and finish writing your thesis, you focus on other 2. Okay, but do not bring the uncontrollable variables, means like unnecessary variables in your model. That will raise more questions than answers. Okay, so your focus first should be graduate. Okay, then you can write many papers for your career in the future. Okay, so I hope this answers our question.
Okay, thank you so much, Dr. Tariq. Okay, this is an interesting discussion, Dr. Tariq, but we have such a limited time to continue the session. So, dear participants, we finally come to the end part of the session. Before I close the session, I would give some highlights of Dr. Tariq's speech, such as Dr. Tariq shared about 10 tips to increase our productivity. With the most important things are how we can avoid the distractions, and then how we have, how we can set the quantitative goals, also avoid the procrastination, and also keep being motivated during the PhD journey. And then I also highlight about the good quotes from Dr. Tariq is the more time you give to your research, so the more time it will take. So just manage your time properly and make some priority of your work. Another important things that I make some notes is to be a great researcher or we have to be very careful about the predatory publisher. So we have to be careful on publishing our papers. So we need to understand the red flags, right? Red flags of the predatory publishing. And last but not least, so Dr. Tariq give us some suggestions, such as also the some tools that we can use to manage our research, such as we can use the Excel tools and to make the timeline and schedule of our research, and then we can also draw the or make some mind maps or net maps to keep our work. To keep us focused on our work. Then also we can use EndNote and another tools that help us to focus on our research. So that's all from me. And once again, I would like to thank you so much to Dr. Tariq for such an insightful, informative, and also interesting presentation. Let me invite all of you, all the participants, to once again to give the virtual reaction to Dr. Tariq. Thank you so much, Dr. Tariq.
Thank you very much. It was my pleasure indeed. Yeah. And please let me know if they have any queries. So I will be happy to answer there later on as well. Thank you.
Right. Yeah. Thank you. I also thank to all the participants for the very nice discussion. We hope this program will be beneficial for everyone. Lastly, I will give the token back to the master of ceremony.
Okay, thank you very much.
Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you very much, Ms. Dewanti, for conducting this amazing session. And also, thank you very much, Dr. Muhammad Ali Tariq, for the excellent lecture today. Please give applause to our speaker and moderator by using the Zoom reaction feature for today's amazing session. And then, we would like to present a certificate awarding for our honorable speaker and moderator. Okay, so for the first one, we will present a certificate for Dr. Muhammad Ali Tariq for our speaker today. Thank you, Dr. Tariq.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Okay, so for the next one, we would like to present a certificate for our honorable moderator, Ms. Dewanti Anggrahini. Thank you very much, Ms. Dewanti.
Thank you, Ms. Dewanti. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay,
Thank you so much, Dr. Tariq.
Thank you. It's a pleasure. Yeah.
Okay, once again, thank you very much to our speaker and moderator for your availability on today's session. Okay, before we end our today's session, we invite you all participants as well as the honorable speaker and moderator to take a group photo. So for the participants, you may open your camera right now. I will wait for a little bit so all of you can prepare to open your camera. Wait, please. We have 6 slides, so it will take a while. Okay, I will wait for 10 more seconds, I guess. Okay, so I will start taking screenshots of my screen right now. Okay, please brace yourself and your smile. Okay, for the first slide, 3, 2, 1. Okay, for the second slide, 3, 2, 1. Okay, you may be in the last slide, so please keep your smile. 3, 2, 1. 3, 2, 1. Second to the last. Okay, last slide. Okay, thank you very much. And now we have finished the group photo. Then for the participants, please fill the feedback form through the link that has been shared by our committee via the Zoom chat room, or it's bit.ly/feedback R2SEP 2021. And we want to remind you, the participant who will get the stamp for it, as I said before in the very beginning, is the participants who come on time, join this event until the end, and also fill the feedback form. Finally, we have reached the end of today's researcher and research student enrichment program, and we sincerely apologize for any mistakes that we may have made in presenting as Master of Ceremony, also as the committee. Thank you very much for our speaker, moderator, and all participants for the attention and cooperation. Before we part, I would like to inform you that we still have several future agendas in R2SEP for self-engineering stream. You can see it on the poster we are showing you right now, or you can check it out on ITS Global Engagement website later. We will see you in the next session on the 3rd of June 2021 with the theme Getting Published, that will be delivered by Associate Professor Ferry G from Edith Cowan University from Edith Cowan University. Okay, so once again, thank you everyone for today. Good evening and wabillahi taufiq wal hidayah. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam. Thank you very much.
Waalaikumsalam.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for our speaker, and I will back to end the meeting. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much, Dr. Tarik.
Yeah, thank you. It was a pleasure indeed. Thank you, Ms. Dewanti. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, ITS. Thank you, Ms. Nabila.
Allow me to end the session in 3, 2, 1. Thank you and have a nice day, everyone.